Welcome back, 5th grade. Today we're going to keep working on the chapter review, pages 352 to 354. You can either do this on your own first and then come back and watch the video to check your answers, or you can do it along with me. It's up to you. First of all, on number 10, Caleb's family's room has the dimensions shown, which are 5 1/4 yards by 3 7/8 yards. He needs to find the area of the room so he knows how much carpet to buy. It says to complete the area model below, but we haven't practiced the area model with two mixed numbers. We did it with a mixed number and a whole number. So if you want to find another way, that's fine. You don't have to do this. So really what we're doing is just multiplying two fractions, but we have to put them in fraction form. So 5 1/4 would be 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1 makes 21/4 times 3 7/8. 3 times 8 is 24 plus 7 is 31/8. And I'm looking for an opportunity to simplify. Oh my goodness, I don't see one. I don't know why they give us these kind of numbers though, but 21 times 31 is 651. 4 times 8 is 32, so then we just have to divide. 32 goes into 651 20 times, which would be 640, which leaves 11 out of 32 left. And so these are square yards because yards is the unit of measure. Oh, there's a place to put it right here. 20 and 11/32 square yards. All right, number 11. Doreen lives 3/4 of a mile from the library. So D is 3/4. Sheila is 1/3 as far away from the library as Doreen. So if Doreen is 3/4, Sheila is 1/3 of Doreen's 3/4. Okay, so now does that mean Sheila lives closer or further? Well, here you're taking a part of a part, right? 1/3 is a part, 3/4 is of a part of a mile. So a part of a part is going to be less than the part. So does Doreen live further than the library than Sheila? Yes, she does. And does Sheila live 1/4 mile from the library? Well, is 1/3 of 3/4 equal to 1/4? Well, yes, because if we swap these numerators, we would have 3/3 of 1/4. So yes, that is true. Does Doreen live twice as far from the library? Is 3/4 twice as far? No, it's 3 times as much. So we would say no. All right. Taniqua took a test that had 20 multiple choice and 10 true-false questions. She got 9/10 of the multiple choice correct, and she got 4/5 of the true-false. How many multiple choice questions did she get? Well, there were 20 of them, and she got 9/10 of 20. So, 1/10 of 20 would be 2, and multiply that by 9 would give you 18. 18 multiple choice. How many true false? Well, she got 4/5 of 10. 1/5 of 10 would be like 10 divided by 5, which is 2, times 4 is 8. 8 true false questions. All right, the next page on number 13, the table shows how many hours some of the part-time employees at the toy store worked. And so Conrad was 6 2/3 hours, Giovanni 9 1/2, Sally 10 3/4. This week, Connor will work 1 3/4 times longer than last week. So this is last week and this week. This week is 1 3/4 times that, so we would need to multiply that. Giovanni works 1 1/3 times longer, 1 1/3, and Sally is 2/3 times what she worked last week. Okay, now we're trying to match the employee's name to the number of hours worked this week. So we could multiply, or we could use some logical thinking. So let's see if we can figure this out logically. So somebody worked 7 1/6 hours. Well, here we have 6, almost 7 being multiplied by almost 2. So that's going to be more than 7 1/6, I would imagine. 9 1/2 times 1 1/3 is going to be more than 7 1/6 because we're starting with more than 7. So, 10 times 2/3. I'm kind of thinking maybe it's Sally here, but let's double check. 10 3/4 times 2/3. I'm going to make this a fraction. 10 times 4 is 40 plus 3. 40 3/4 times 2/3. We can simplify this 4 and this 2. I'm not going to swap them. I'm just going to do it visually here. And so now we have 43 6, and 43 goes into 6 goes into 43 7 times. Ah, I was right. So it is Sally and 7 and 1 6 without even finishing the problem. I could though. Okay, so now between Giovanni and Conrad, who was 12 and 2/3? Who had the most hours? Can we tell by looking? Well, I'm guessing it's going to be Giovanni because Giovanni started with more. So wouldn't it make sense that he ended up with more? But we can double check. 9 1/2 would be 9 times 2 is 18. 19 halves times 1 1/3 is 4/3. And again, we can simplify this 4 and 2. This is a 2 and this is a 1. So we have 19 times 2, which is 38, divided by 3. 3 goes into 38 12 times. That's 36 with 2 left over. So Giovanni and then Conrad. So we didn't have to do all 3 problems. Okay, Peggy is making a quilt using panels that are 1/2 foot by 1/2 foot. The quilt is 5 1/2 feet long and 4 feet wide. So let each square represent a 1/2 by 1/2 foot. Draw a rectangle to represent the quilt. So it's 5 1/2 feet long, but each of these represents a 1/2 of a foot. So how many 1/2 feet are we going to need? So the length is this way. We need 5 1/2. So 2 of them would be 1. 2 more would be 2. 2 more would be 3. 2 more would be 4. 2 more would be 5. And then 1 more would be 5 1/2. And to get 4, we would do every 2 is 1. So there's 2, 3, 4. So now we could complete that rectangle like that. Okay? So what's the area of the quilt? Well, the quilt is 5 1/2 by 4. So we could use distributive property here. 5 plus 1/2 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 1/2 times 4 is 2. So 22 square feet. All right, Ruby has conducted a survey and found that 5/6 of her classmates have pet, and 2/3 of those pets are dogs. What fraction are dogs? Well, so it's telling you what you need to do here. 5/6 times 2/3. And they are not going to simplify before they multiply, are they? They're not. So we're just putting 2/3 here, which would be 10/18, which then would simplify to, 5/9. 5/9 of her classmates. That's kind of a silly way to do that problem. All right, Robbie is using the recipe below to make chicken noodle soup. He plans to make 6 batches of the soup. He has 2/3 teaspoon of black pepper. Write an expression that Robbie can use to determine how much black pepper is needed for 6 batches. Well, here's the black pepper. It's 1/8 for 1 batch. So if he's going to make 6 batches, he would have to do that 1/8 6 times. And 1/8 6 times would be like, oh, it just asks for the expression, so we don't even need an equal sign. 1/8 6 times. So now draw a model to show 1/8 6 times. Well, okay, so if you had a figure and you broke it into eighths and you repeated that 6 times, I'm just going to do it this way, would be 6/8, which would simplify to 3/4. So this is going to be 3/4 of a teaspoon is what he needs. Now he has 2/3 of a teaspoon. Does he have enough? Well, you need to compare 2/3 to 3/4. Which is greater? So let's just draw two rectangles that are hopefully the same size. And if I make these fourths, this is what 3/4 would look like. And if we make these thirds, that would be 2/3. Which one's greater? Really hard to tell, right? But if we make them the same size part, then we can maybe more easily tell. So what common denominator could we make with 3 and 4? Well, I would make them 12ths. So multiply 3 times 4 to get 12. 2 times 4 then would give us 8. And to get this to be 12ths, I would have to multiply by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 2/3 then is less than 3/4. So does he have enough? No, he doesn't. Okay, hope that was helpful.